Hey guys, Dividend Enjoyer here, and today I'm going to be talking about debt. Now, I personally don't have any debt right now. I've paid cash for my car. I don't really go above my means. I haven't had a vacation in forever. I'm just saving up money. And I'm very anti debt. I think it's a bad thing unless it provides you some sort of value. If I was going to get a debt, I would need to make sure that the value of the thing I'm financing with my debt is going to generate me more resources than the cost of the debt. Because, you really don't want to live above your means and start spending money that you don't have. I think that's a recipe for being poor forever. And I really think that houses are the craziest thing that we have because they cost so much money and it's such a big dice roll. If you're someone who really understands real estate, and you know that this property is objectively undervalued for the likely future of the market, I think that you're the type of person that should be able to get a loan and do the whole owning a house thing, because I think that you're actually seeing that this asset is going to be worth more, so you're going to make your exit at some point. But if you're someone who's like just kind of starting out, one of the worst things you can do is lock yourself into a mortgage or not put a big down payment down on the house at the beginning. But the only thing that the mortgage really does that's special and helpful is that it kind of locks in your price for what your housing is going to be. So that's a big advantage of a mortgage, quite honestly. But a lot of people don't factor in that you'd probably save more money if you didn't have all of the property taxes, all the insurance, and all of the extra things that you don't have to worry about as a renter. But obviously some people just really prefer living in one place or another because they can't get an apartment that's similar to their house. I completely understand that. You have to know that you're not optimizing how much money you could be saving. Because if you want to optimize how much money you're able to keep, then you would avoid every type of debt that is going to end up costing you more in terms of the resources you're putting into it, rather than it's going to make you more money. And that's why businesses usually have higher credit ratings and things like that, because they're reliably able to pay off whatever their debts are. And they're taking on those debts as, for one, a tax shield, and to fund actual things or projects that are making them money. And that's kind of, if this makes any sense, that's kind of the two things I'm debating on, just because I'm thinking on this path, with owning a house, you get to have the specific area and you get to kind of lock in that part of your life, like where you're living. And that is very convenient. And you're going to be paying this price. And if you have the money, you could just pay that and it's no big deal. But on the other side, I'm thinking you could rent, which would be way lower cost for you. There's not going to be, any of the insurance, any of the extra BS with everything. If something breaks, you don't have to worry about it. Doesn't even matter. On top of paying less, you get to keep more of your own money right now, which you can then put in companies that are going to be producing more later. Renting seems like a way lower risk approach in terms of investing, because you have to think your mortgage is a big investment. And if you're able to kind of avoid paying any interest on that mortgage because you were able to save the money into different stocks or investments that are paying you money, and then you're able to build that up enough to then sell off a chunk of it and buy a house with, I think that's a smarter way to go. And you don't have to put in any time or thought into actually owning a property, which is very stressful and extremely costly. So I'm a big advocator for just completely paying off your debts, because if you have any kind of debt that isn't making you money in some way, I think you should buy out of them. I don't think debt is a good thing to be holding on to, especially because you're just giving money away. Like, nobody would be offering these loans if they weren't making money off of them. Like, it doesn't make sense to me that so many banks would be wanting to finance people and get their money for that if they're not making some kind of profit off of that loan, right? I think that any debt is bad debt, and that you should live well below your means. I think that's a super important thing that a lot of people don't realize. Just because you have access to a credit card or to something where you can just instantly buy and then you don't have the money for, it's very easy to get behind on that and then not have any money ever, because you just bought way more than you should have and you overconsumed on stupid things, and now you don't have money. You want to be very much If you're at like neutral, like no debt at all, no assets, I think you're actually doing pretty good right now. I do think that it's worth it to get student loans if you get the right degree, obviously. I think that a lot of degrees are very helpful in getting jobs. But that debt's excusable. But you should be throwing a lot of money into it, because I know so many people who are, in their 50s and they still have student loans, just because it's like so malicious, and it's so difficult to get started. But once you get started and you get disciplined and you're able to pay off all that debt, and you're just completely debt free, don't have any kind of debts, and you're just collecting cash and saving it up and putting it into good businesses, it's amazing. I mean, I'm kind of at the starting stage for sure, because I've got about 25 grand in stocks at the moment. I can see that I'm able to save a lot more, and if there's like a $3,000 expense that pops up, I'm able to get it because we don't go on vacations, we don't overspend anywhere. I paid cash for my car, so I don't have those car payments. Having debt is just a huge anxiety in your life, and it's definitely not a good thing. I mean, it feels way better to be able to go to the grocery store, buy whatever I want all the time, because I was smart about what I did, and not getting into these debts, not overspending what I had. I don't know. I think that debt is really bad, guys. I really think that too many Americans are struggling right now because they just overspend what they have, or there are these really predatory loans, or they hear from people, you have to get a house, you have to get a mortgage. And I just don't think it's very smart, personally. I think that you're much better off just saving your money and paying off all of your debt, just being completely debt free, driving a beater, I don't know, doing something to make it work, right? Spending a lot more money than you have on where you should be able to rent, using credit cards for trips, things like that, right? And I get it. Some people would rather have that experience than live without the anxiety of having the debt, but I'm just not one of those people, and I think it's a behavioral thing. I think some people are wired to just want to go and get that thing, go because they see other people doing it and they're envious of them. If you want to be smart and you want to make a lot of money, then I think it's better to just live below your means, pay off your debts, save up money, and just stay at that level where, that you're used to, and just build up that cash, because I'm planning to drive my car for probably at least the next 8 years, at least. And, yeah, I paid cash for it, so I didn't have to mess with getting financed or paying $400 a month or paying any interest to anybody. I just bought that car how it was. I didn't get any of the add-ons. I think they're a total scam too. And it's been awesome. I've only had to put I think maybe $800 into fixing it up. But if it was a debt, I would have been paying $400 a month for probably 3 years or something. That's usually the length of a auto loan. So I didn't want to do that. And if I had less cash to put down on that car, I probably would have bought a lower end car. I probably would have paid $8,000 or something. I mean, you just have to save up the money to get something and then buy it. Unless you're in a situation where, like I said before, the value of the loan that you're going to generate out of profit or whatever is worth more than the amount that you're spending on the loan. And that might be if you absolutely need a car to get a job. That would be an example of where it's then take that loan and then pay off the loan as soon as you can, right? So there are niche situations, and that's where debt is okay, but generally you want to just get completely out of debt. But if there's a situation where you actually 100% know that the amount of money you're going to be paying whoever's giving you the loan is lower than the amount that you're going to make off of the loan, then I think in that situation, that's where you take on debt. And I think that's where debt is a useful tool. But if you're just using debt to remodel something, or using debt to go on a trip, or using debt for food that you could make at home, I think that you're using debt incorrectly. And I think that you really need to evaluate that if you want to make more money in the future. That's my little rant on debt. It's kind of jumbled and all over the place, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, and check out the stock analysis videos. I'll probably have one up later today. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.